Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be going over all of the elite heroes for Invincible Guarding the Globe. I was looking around on YouTube and I noticed there wasn't really anyone going over all the elite heroes in detail, at least not that I saw. So let's go through it, starting off with Invincible. He's considered by a lot of people to be the best character. Not me personally, but he's definitely up there. He has Supersonic, where he flies around and he hits a couple different enemies doing 180% damage, only an 18-second cooldown. Got Going Steady, reduces a team's cooldown by 5%, and 5% doesn't seem like a lot, but in a game where the points are getting up to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and I'm scared to say it, but even millions at some point, 5% makes a major difference. Enter Viltrumite, and this one's really good. At 20% health, he becomes invincible, like the namesake, for 5 seconds with a 30-second cooldown. Now, more than likely, unless you have a really good healing character on your team, he's not going to reach this cooldown a second time, but it's really good just for the last line of hope. Go for the big guy. So every 25 seconds, Invincible attacks the guy with the most health for 5 seconds with a 5% attack increase. So, all in all, pretty good guy to have. Got Adam Eve. Her protection, almost a tongue twister there. So she cast a shield worth 5% of her HP on 2 allies with the least health. Lasts 5 seconds. It's a good starter. Got Blowback. When fighting with any member of team, shields bounce back 5% any damage received. Strength through shielding. When an ally receives a shield, heals them at 5% of Adam Eve's max health. And again, like we were talking about before, 5% it's not significant, but it's okay, especially once you start getting up there. Hurt and Heal. Adam Eve throws 1 projectile to random targets. If the projectile hits an enemy, 150% base damage. If it hits an ally, 300% healing of the base damage. I mean, everyone loves her because of all the shields, healing, but I'm not the biggest fan. Now, Omni-Man, on the other hand, that's one of my favorites. Has probably the best stats in the game, outside of maybe Alan, or I'm sure once Battle Beast drops, he'll be probably the best. We got Fault Line, just claps his hands together, dealing 150% base damage, applying negative 5% defense to all enemies for 3 seconds. It's like a Hulk thunderclap. I love it. When fighting humans, gets 1% life leech, and I'm not gonna lie, this is not that good. 1%, you hardly notice. It maybe feels more like 3 or more, you start to notice it, but I mean, it's something, I guess. Unstoppable. After performing 4 critical hits, the critical chance for the next hit is 100%, deals 150% critical damage. No cooldown, always active, so that's good. Any passive feats, anything with no cooldown, that's exactly something to be looking for in your characters. Then the last one is Gut Punch. Omni-Man's punch deals 200% damage hit. Targets are instantly killed if their HP is less than 5%. If their HP is higher, they're pushed back. That's pretty good. After performing the attack, his damage hit is increased by 5% for the next 10 seconds. And 10 seconds is a pretty good duration for one of these feats. Robot, everyone's favorite healing character. And I don't have mine ranked up quite yet the way I like him to be, but I can't argue. He's definitely the best healer. So, heals his allies by 10% in an area, debuffs on all enemies, reducing their defenses by 5% for 5 seconds. Next one, when fighting against criminals, 10% buff on team's healing effects. Every 15 seconds, creates a healing area around him, heals a maximum of 15% of his HP for 5 seconds. So a passive healing, but still pretty good. You got rockets away. Robot pilot fires a couple of rockets that stun the enemy for 1 second and applies 100% damage through the course of 5 seconds. The ability has a cooldown of 20 seconds. My opinion, that's not really worth it. I'd probably just get to the third one and stop. Focus on the other heroes. Now the hero with the most defense in the whole game, Monster Girl. She does the Monster Smash, Monster Mash. Monster Girl stomps around, dealing 120% damage. Grounds enemies for a quarter of a second. Next one is increases the defense of Guardians of the Globe allies by 5.5% of her HP. That is really good. Monster Girl gets a permanent attack boost equal to 10% of her current HP. That is a really big deal. 10% is major in a game like this. And then the last one, Monster Girl dispels enemy shields with her basic attacks, so there's not even a recharge or cooldown on this one. Just her regular attacks dispel shields, and she recovers healing effects equal to 65% of the shield value. So that one is absolutely worth getting. Got Shrinking Ray. Not gonna lie to you, have not used this character, but let's see what she has. Moves behind the furthest target, then attacks them with 250% damage increase, pushes them to Ray's previous position, and decreases their defense 22% for 3 seconds. Cooldown of 15 seconds. Yeah, that's why she's so annoying to fight right there. That's pretty good. Ray increases human allies' defense 5% for each attacker in the enemy team. That's also really good. Immune to stun or silence effects. That's okay. God, why am I sleeping on this character? I need to get Shrinking Ray. In addition, with a cooldown of 8 seconds, when these effects are applied to her, she becomes small and moves next to an available enemy, stunning them during 2 seconds and dealing 100% damage over during 5 seconds. Okay, so she's just a shrinking, running around, immune monster. Kinda disappointing how she died so easily in the show. Spoiler alert. After returning to normal size, Ray receives 21% critical chance increase during 3 seconds and 20% attack increase during 3 seconds. Okay, so that just pairs with all of her other abilities, basically. Or at least Ray behind you and Shrinking Dodge. So that's definitely worth getting all 4 of them. Got Bulletproof. Push it real good. Bulletproof pushes an enemy in front of him 3 times and moves following the target. Also deals damage using 350% of attack. Cooldown 14 seconds. That is really good. Yeah. It's almost like what Invincible does, except instead of bouncing around in between people, he just focuses on one. If there's any human on the team, Bulletproof decreases the damage received from ranged enemies by 5%. That's good when facing a robot, Adam Eve, Rexplode, any of those ranged characters that could get annoying. After performing 7 critical strikes, Bulletproof increases self-attack stat by 17% during 3 seconds and becomes immune during 3 seconds. That sounds really good, but I don't feel like it's going to happen all that often waiting for 7 critical strikes compared to when we were looking at Omni-Man earlier. Every 4 critical hits, he got his ability. But I mean, it's still not horrible. You take that over nothing. Lastly, he's immune to push and pull effects and increases critical chance by 50% during 3 seconds. Okay, see, that would help out for the 3rd feat. So you kind of need the 4th feat if you bother getting the 3rd feat, in my opinion. When an enemy tries to apply the effects on them. Yeah. The Immortal. Proper. You could either call him the best of A tier or the worst of S tier, in my opinion. So his first one is he just flies up in the air and then flies down, doing 450% base damage. He looks like a meteor just striking. It's pretty cool watching it. He has the Immortal reduces damage received by Viltrumites by 5%, and that's really good because Viltrumites are already probably one of the hardest hitters in the game. So any percentage you can reduce their hits, the better. When the Immortal's HP reaches 9%, he becomes immune for 5 seconds. The ability has a cooldown of 15 seconds. So I feel like this is okay, but it would be better if they would have made it he's invincible for 5 seconds. I feel like at 9% against a bunch of characters, this will kick in and he's still just going to die in a few hits. But, I mean, again, like I said before, better than nothing. Lastly, this one's pretty good if you have someone like Robot on the team with him. Shared healing. When an ally gets healed, the Immortal receives 5% of the healing effect and only a 5-second cooldown, which is might as well have no cooldown. War Woman, she is I mean, I wish I could say something better. She hits hard, but just the health. She doesn't last for anything. So she goes to a tornado spin for 2 seconds, doing 250% damage, 20-second cooldown, gets 1% attack buff for each original Guardian of the Globe present. And be careful, it's not just Guardians of the Globe, it specifies original Guardians of the Globe. Like, yeah, see how the Immortal is both the original Guardians of the Globe and the Guardians of the Globe? So they're 2 different things. You gotta make sure it's Guardian or original Guardians of the Globe. Next up, this one's pretty good. When War Woman receives a critical hit, just one, she gets a 10% life leech. And I know I said life leech wasn't good. Nah, that was 1% life leech. 10%, you notice that, you want that. For 5% attack damage for the next 3 seconds. That could save her life right there. Last one is War Woman's last hit pushes back all surrounding enemies and deals 20% more damage. I mean, that's good just to give her some breathing room, maybe save her life or her teammate's life. Chance to get a healing feed in there. Next up is the character all y'all are sleeping on. It is Red Rush, one of my favorites. First up, he runs around an enemy super fast, dealing 200% base damage for 2.5 seconds, and then he's silenced for 3 seconds. I like this because it's only a 15-second cooldown. Up next is a passive feat. Red Rush increases his team's critical damage by 10% when fighting against Viltrumites. And again, like I said about Viltrumites, anything you could do to help yourself against them, the better. You need it. Next up, we got Speed Demon. Once every 15 seconds, so same as the other 15-second cooldown. Once every 15 seconds, Red Rush swaps his own position with the furthest enemy, stunning them for 3 seconds and reducing their physical resistance by 90% for 3 seconds. Him or any other teammate hit that guy, it's almost a guaranteed death, especially if it's one of your heavy hitters, because at 90% physical resistance, yeah, that's every 15 seconds. Lastly, sadly 30-second cooldown, but still not bad. When an ally is below 25% health, Red Rush grants them invincibility status for 3 seconds. So you have the potential to have this used up to 3 times in a game. 3 seconds of invincibility. That is not too bad. Y'all need to start appreciating it. Next up, Green Ghost, also another really good character. Untouchable, Green Ghost flies through the battlefield, passing through 2 enemies, dealing 150% damage with 25% life leech. That is fantastic. 25% life leech. She stuns them for half a second. Next up, Green Ghost increases the max HP by 1% for each member of the original Guardians of the Globe on her team. Not that big of a deal, but if you have it built up with other buffs, it really helps. We have Hide and Heal. Green Ghost teleports next to an ally below 30%, makes them invisible for 3 seconds. She also applies 5% of her own max HP as healing over those 3 seconds that they're invisible. Only a 15-second cooldown. That is something you need on your team, I promise you. Lastly, we have Can't See Me. When Green Ghost HP is below 20%, she becomes invisible for 3 seconds, boosting her ability to charge by 25%. The ability has a cooldown of 20 seconds. So that's pretty much, that might as well be invincibility, even though it's invisibility. Because she's gone for 3 seconds. No one's going to be hitting her. Not too shabby. Got the Mauler twins. Well, one Mauler twin. The original, of course. Definitely not the clone. This guy is Battering Ram. He selects a random enemy, dashes towards them, and applies a 1-second stun, dealing 350% damage. 13-second cooldown, not too shabby. Increases the team's physical attack by 4% for each Mauler on the team. This doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but I've personally seen someone who has an entire team of Maulers. And now that 4% became 4, 8, 12, 16, 20%. That is a big deal. Self-important, Mauler Twin empowers his attacks, which increases the damage of his next 2 hits. These hits result in 150% base damage each. The last enemy to be hit gets pushed back. Only 10-second cooldown. These guys are good because they only have real short cooldowns. Another 10-second cooldown here. When Twin's HP is below 20%, he bounces back 15% of the damage received for 5 seconds. The other Mauler twin, more of a ranged and assist guy. Shoots big rockets dealing 300% damage, and applies burn dealing 50% base damage for 5 seconds, 15-second cooldown. Passive 1, same thing as the other guy. Selects a random target, pushes them back with his gun, dealing 125% damage for 3 seconds, and silences all hit enemies, 14-second cooldown. Last one is the longest cooldown, but still pretty short, of 18 seconds. If an enemy is melee range, he deals 100% base damage, pushing them back, or pushes back all enemies hit. Next up we have Titan. His first one is Bring It On. He just jumps into the whole pile of enemies, has a shield, taunts them, 300% base damage when he jumps in, and he receives that shield is 5% of his max HP for 5 seconds, 15-second cooldown on that. He reduces the enemy's healing effects by 5% when fighting against any of the Guardians of the Globe. He smashes the ground in front of him, dealing 120% base damage and stunning all enemies for 1 second. And he can do that every 13 seconds. Next up you got Fault Line. Titan increases his physical defense by 1% for every 5% of missing HP. So the weaker he gets, or the more damage that's done to him, the stronger and harder he hits. Next up, Alan the Alien. He grabs a giant rock from space, throwing it at the furthest enemy, dealing, get this, 600% of Alan's defense as area damage. Alan is a defense character. That's going to be a hard hit. And he can do this every 22 seconds. He also taunts them. When increasing allies' energy resistance by 20% and energy damage by 20% when fighting against any of the world beyond. So that would be like Alan, Damien Darkblood, any of the Flaxons. And when Battle Beast is dropped in the game, it'll be him too. We have when Alan has only 1 HP left, he heals 10% of his max HP, receives a healing over time of 145% self-defense during 5 seconds, 60-second cooldown. So what that pretty much means is when he is just about to die, he gets a quick boost of health, 10%, and then he's over the next 5 seconds, he's slowly healing a little bit more. Lastly, when his HP is below 10%, he receives 20% attack increase and 20% defense increase during the 5 seconds. Only 12-second cooldown on that, so he'll likely be able to use that twice, because that'll kick in first, then that'll kick in, he'll heal up, 12 seconds, that should kick in again. So that's a pretty good combination right there. And that is it for the elite characters. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Be sure to tell me what you think in the comments. I could cover anything else about this game, at least as far as I know. Maybe like and subscribe. I appreciate it.